report for today is all about media and globalizations. First, what is the role of media in globalization? The mass media are today seen as playing a key of role in enhancing globalization and facilitating cultural exchange and multiple flows of information and image between countries through international news, broadcast, television, programming, new technologies, film, and music. What is media and globalizations? As the name suggests, media globalization is a worldwide integration of media through the cross-cultural exchange of ideas, while technological globalizations refers to the cross-cultural development and exchange of technology. The media and globalizations. Media. In general, media refers to various means of communications. For example, is television, radio, and newspaper are the different type of media. The term can also use as a collective noun for the press or news reporting agencies. In the computer world, media is also used as collective noun but refers to different types of data storage option. There are types of media. Mainly there are two types of mass media. Number one is print media. The example of print media is newspapers, magazines, and journals. Second one is electronic media. The example of electronic media is radio, television, films, and new media. Globalizations describes the process by which regional economies, societies, and cultures have become integrated through a global network of political ideas through communication, routes, transportation, and trade. Next is, the term also refers to the transnational circulations of ideas, languages, and popular culture. Next, globalizations refers to the growing interconnectedness of different parts of the world. A process which gives rise to complex form of interactions and independency. The United Nations ASCWA has written that globalization is a widely used term that can be defined in a number of ways. When used in an economic context, it refers to the reductions and removal of barriers between national borders in order to facilitate flow of goods, capital, service, labor, and etc. The next one is the International Monetary Fund defines globalization as a growing economic interdependence of countries worldwide through increasing volume and variety of cross-border transactions in goods and services. Time elimination of state-enforced restrictions on exchanges across borders and the increasingly integrated and complex global system of productions and exchange that has emerged as a result. The question is, what role do the media play in the rush toward globalizations? To some, globalization means the transfer of ideas and culture from the development West to the undeveloped world, resulting in the homogenizations of consumerist culture across borders that threatens to disrupt and permanently alter indigenous values. Yet others might suggest that the flow of ideas occurs in multiple directions, resulting in the less homogenizations and more diversification of ideas and lifestyles. Even these general models mask the true depth and complexity of the global reach of media. What is certain is that globalization has greatly expanded the importance of what information lies within the public sphere, and the sharing of that information will undoubtedly continue to have an effect both on the lives of private individuals, vice-vis their relationships with each other, and the nation states they live in. Most theorists agree that there is practically no globalization without media and communications, as many of the definitions of globalization, at least indirectly acknowledge. The role of media and communication is, of course, obvious in globalization theories, but it is not necessarily visible. This causes problems in two ways. First, the role of media and communication in globalization theories remain vague and unspecified. Secondly, media studies miss the big picture of globalization and have been contributing little to theoretical discussions on globalization. The media is basically dominated by five major companies. They are: number 1, Time Warner; number 2, Viacom; number 3, Vivendi Universal; number 4, Walt Disney; number 5, News Corp. These five companies own 95% of all the media that we get every day. They own the major entertainment, theme parks, entertainment, movie, studios, television and radio, broadcast networks and programming, video news and sports, entertainment. So, how media influence? For example, after the attacks of 9/11, the media gave a huge coverage of the event and exposed Osama guilty for the attack as they were told by the authorities. This shaped the public opinion to support the war on terrorism. The same happened with the war on Iraq. The problem is that if media receive accurate information, then the public opinion supported the wrong cause. This is the power of public opinion influence. Effects of violence in the media. When we watch TV or movie, we usually see many images of violence and people hurting others. The problem with this is that it can become traumatic, especially in our children, as we see it more and more. Our kids that are starting to grow and are shaping their personality, values, and beliefs can become aggressive, or they can lose the sense of reality and fiction of what they are seeing. Globalization. Globalization describes the late 20th century condition of encounter and interdependence across culture, societies, nations, and regions, precipitated by an unprecedented expansion of capitalism on a global scale, changes in world political structure after World War II that include the rise of the United States and the decolonization of the formerly colonized world. A shift from the concept of the nation-state as bounded and independent toward a range of economic, social, and political connections across nations, and an acceleration in the scale, mood, and volume of exchange and relationship in nearly all spheres of human activity. Media within globalization has been understood in several ways. The cultural imperialism argument emphasizes the information technology divided within which dominant cultures impose informations, products, and values on those of less dominant ones. The hybridization thesis stresses that globalization of economy, trade, and migration has created cultures that are hybridized, mixed, syncretic, and composite. Globalizations creates combinations of sameness and difference, centered to periphery to center, realization, and regional media productions. A new media order beyond sameness and difference suggests that cultural exchanges are more complicated than similarity and difference. Polysynthesis, indigenization, overlapping schemes create alternative approaches to media and visual cultures. Cultural imperialism. McBride and Roach observed that media communication networks are unevenly distributed across the globe in ways that confirm of the uneven wealth and development of countries. Rapid development of communications media in the post-war years was dominated by multinational elites based in the most powerful nations, subjecting the newly independent post-colonial nations, developing countries to cultural imperialism. The 1980 UNESCO Commissions, headed by Sen McBride, reported that the major news agencies of the US, the UK, and France had a monopoly overflow of news to and from developing countries, asserted need to African reporting on Africa, Indian perspectives on South Asia, as well as South-South dialogue, circumventing transmission through the dominant countries. Third, cinema. The cinema known as documentary with all the vastness that the concept has today, from education films to the reconstruction of a fact or a historical event, is perhaps the main basis of revolutionary filmmaking. Every image that documents, bears witness to, refutes, or depends the truth of a situation is something more than a film image or purely artistic fact. It becomes something which the system finds indigestible. This cinema of the masses, which is prevented from reaching beyond the sectors representing the masses, provokes with each showing, as in a revolutionary military incursions, a liberated space, a decolonized territory. The showing can be turned into a kind of political event which, according to Fanon, could be a liturgical act, a privilege occasion for human beings to hear and be heard. Hybridization thesis. Through global encounters and exchange, cultures have hybridized, mixed, become syncretic and composite. In one version, hybridization suggests that globalization brings the center to the periphery, spreading Western style, modernity, introducing Hollywood, genres, and liberal values, ideas, and tastes to the non-West. Globalization creates a tension between cultural difference and cultural sameness. Globalization differentiates as well as equalizes levels or unifies the apparent spread of Western cultural media actually produce conditions that give rise to local particularism to distinguish themselves and comment on hybridization as a global process.